Hey mamas, and welcome to the Entering Motherhood podcast. This is your one-stop go-to place for getting you from feeling drained, exhausted, and unfulfilled in motherhood to feeling more energized, organized, and accomplished. That's the vision I continue to navigate towards, and that's the vision we are sharing with you, focusing on holistic alternatives and restructuring your mind, body, and soul from the inside out. I'm your host, Sarah Marie Bilger, a wife, mom of two, mechanical engineer, VBAC mom, and doula, serving mamas through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. If you're here for this, if you're as pumped up as I am and searching for that fire that you know is deep inside of you, then let's go. Let's uncover what it truly means to enter motherhood. You are a rock star. I believe in you. Let's doula this. Let's crank it up a notch and let's kick it into high gear together. Hey mamas, how are you? I am so excited to be here and talk with you today about unmedicated birth because this is something that I am truly so passionate about and something that I truly love helping mamas with as a doula and just in general. And seeing unmedicated birth and hearing stories about unmedicated birth is totally my jam. So if that is you, or if you are preparing for an unmedicated birth, if you are a birth worker who works with people that are trying to achieve a medicated birth or going in that direction, then I am so excited that you are here ready to jump into this with me as well, because I could literally talk about this day in and day out forever and ever, but we are just going to be here for a short amount of time and get things going and talking about this. So I really just wanted to cover a few bases of ways that you can start to intentionally prepare for an unmedicated birth. And really just kind of developing that skill set that you need to be able to birth your baby completely unmedicated, whether that be hospital, birth center, home birth, whatever it might be. I really truly feel like you can achieve an unmedicated birth in any sort of setting. So with that though, the first thing that I really want to point out and talk about is having a great support system. So this is choosing the right birth team, choosing a team that you really feel aligned with, and choosing a team that you know is going to support you in this effort. Because sometimes, especially in a hospital setting, you are not having many women coming through and having an unmedicated birth. Obviously, if you're at home, it is definitely unmedicated because there is not medicalized interventions and medicine that is administered like it would be in a hospital setting. And then birth centers, sometimes there can be different things going on. Maybe you transfer or whatever it might be. But overall, there are very important things to consider when you're looking for a provider, when you're figuring out who else is going to be on that team, when you're talking with your partner and making sure they're on board for your birth and ready to advocate for you. And of course, I'm going to biasly suggest getting a doula wherever you're located. Hopefully you can find multiple doulas in your area that you can kind of interview and get to know and really dive deep on who you feel is going to best support you in your journey of having an unmedicated birth. And so that is super, super key. Also, I want to just point out, really defining your birth preferences and laying out a birth plan, because I think this is super important in having an unmedicated birth, because it really helps solidify the mindset and the actions that you're taking to achieve that goal of having an unmedicated birth. And when you're laying out a plan, you're really thinking about different things, and it's also helping you be really informed and educated about all of the things that come up during birth. And so definitely creating a plan, becoming educated and informed on what birth looks like unmedicated, what that can entail and what is really going to be happening throughout the process. And so that's going to help, you advocate for yourself, you really understand all the different preferences and specifications that you want. And it also helps you really be involved in the decision-making process. So this is going to help just trust in the process, trust your body, and really build that confidence that you need in preparing for your unmedicated birth or helping somebody prepare for their unmedicated birth. When you're really educated and informed in what's going on and the physiology of everything and the process and the stages and what that looks like, what it sounds like, then you're just going to be so much more prepared and confident moving forward when it comes to the day of, you're spontaneously going into labor, you are feeling all the feels and really getting things started and knowing what that might look like, feel like, and getting familiar with all of that is going to be super beneficial when it comes to the actual day. With that too, I think physical preparation can be a huge factor in all of this. And you are, most of the time really going to physically be exhausting yourself and really getting to different breaking points that maybe you never experienced, and making sure that you're staying on that path of unmedicated birth could really come down to just exhaustion, how much time has passed, different positions that you've been trying, if you're squatting or kneeling or leaning in different ways and such like that. You can become really uncomfortable if you haven't physically prepared for this day. It's just like, running a marathon, doing a race, or whatever it might be. You have to train and you have to become familiar with these different exercises and movements and things like that. And so I also like to use the analogy of going to a yoga class, maybe for the first time, and they're saying all these different moves like cobra, downward dog, whatever it might be. If you're not familiar with that terminology, then they're saying all these things and you're looking around the room and you're unsure of if you're doing it right or correct or whatever it might be. If you practice those, or the more classes that you take and the more times that you flow through those different positions, you are going to become so familiar with it that if somebody says it, you can visualize it. If somebody says it, you can flow right into that movement. And so getting all of these things done and prepping for it beforehand is going to be super beneficial because it becomes subconscious and it becomes something that you're naturally just flowing into and getting familiar with. So, a lot of times I hear like somebody said, oh, like be in whatever position feels comfortable to you. And it's kind of like, well, I don't know all these different positions. I don't know what's comfortable to me. So maybe you do stay in a stagnant spot, or maybe you aren't, swaying your hips around or getting really into it because you're concerned about how you're positioned or what's going on. Or maybe you have it fixed in your head that you can't be in a certain position because whatever reason, or you saw something or heard something or whatever that might be. And I think if you're just getting familiar with these different positions and different exercises beforehand, it helps you really make those decisions and feel, again, really confident in the things and the positions and the ways that you're moving and feeling. And it just will help so much better on the day of. And with that, also just making sure you're fueling your body and, having a nice balanced diet and really giving yourself energy so that when it comes to labor and just all throughout your pregnancy, you're really nourishing your body and giving it what it needs. And with that, I think hydration is super important too. Water is so much a part of your nutrition, and most of the time, I will say that you're probably not drinking enough. And so never be afraid that you're going to be drinking too much. I think most of us are usually just not drinking enough water. So reminding yourself or figuring out ways to really be hitting that mark and hydrating yourself as much as possible. And this is really going to help, just in the strength of your contractions and your uterus, and really just keeping all of your bodily functions flowing and going and preparing your body for labor. And so with that too, there are certain things that I feel are huge in preparing for labor and really having your body be in a good, prime, optimal way. And those two things are dates and red raspberry leaf tea. Those are things that I always recommend to my clients that I absolutely love and I really, really feel are making a difference a lot of the times. And the red raspberry leaf tea is strengthening your uterus and really giving you the best optimal outcome for that. And then the dates are known to soften your cervix and really help with just natural elasticity for your cervix, and usually it tends to eliminate the need for inductions or just shortens the amount of time for labor or any sort of induction that is going on. So even with inductions, you can be having unmedicated births. Like, yes, maybe you're medically getting things going, but you're not having any medical pain relievers to stop any of the sensations and things like that. So it really kind of also, what does unmedicated birth mean to you? Does it mean, completely unmedicated, you went into spontaneous labor and you didn't have any sort of medication whatsoever, no IVs, no fluid, nothing during that phase? Or is it just eliminating the epidural or whatever it might be? And so really being clear and defining that and saying what it means for you and what that looks like is also super important, because you can have one idea in your head of what it's going to look like and somebody else can have a different interpretation of that, or you can say you interpret it or understand it to be a different way. In any sense, if we're eliminating any kind of medication or interventions, then there's just so much that goes into it. And especially I feel like having different relaxation techniques or, visualizations, guided imagery, mental visualizations, really creating that calming and empowering mental vision for your birth, during your birth, and holding on to that, maybe using a meditation or hypnosis can be really beneficial for these situations, because it is helping you really get into that mental space and allowing you to really have the mindset that is very much needed for an unmedicated birth. And again, I really think that just educating yourself is so beneficial in all of this. The more educated you become, I really feel like the more empowered you are, the more aware of all of the decision making and just your overall confidence in every single decision that's coming up. So if there's some sort of situation going on or something that's unexpected, you're able to take everything that you know and that you're aware of and make the best decision possible, so that you're not having those, I coulda, shoulda, woulda, whatever it might be. I feel like when we're confidently making decisions and we're in control of the outcome, it just really helps alleviate so much of that. So even if you're going in planning for this unmedicated birth and something comes up that you don't end up having that unmedicated birth, then you're able to really navigate and know that you made the best decision possible for you and your baby and your family, and that moving forward, this is the outcome that you are fully confident in. And so maybe that's, taking a childbirth education class or just reading different books, listening to podcasts like this, whatever it might be, like going to different workshops or seminars. Maybe your hospital or your birth center or your midwife or your doula has some sort of educational package or information that you can have and take and learn and really be able to incorporate into your plan and your thought process. And so again, I really think just, reaching out to people, talking to groups and networking, or, talking to your provider and really asking those questions and not being afraid to ask any questions, because there is no stupid question. There is nothing to be, worried about when you want to know how your birth is going to go, or how, when I get to this many weeks, what happens? When I get to that many weeks, what happens? And, I will say, no matter what your previous birth experiences were like, or if you are a first-time mom, whatever it might be, an unmedicated birth is still possible. You can have an unmedicated VBAC. You can have an unmedicated birth with high blood pressure, if you have a higher BMI, if you are advanced maternal age, whatever it might be, you are still capable of having the unmedicated birth that you hope and dream of. So keep going for it. Honestly, if you have it on your heart, I say it is worth every single bit to just go for it and really just, you can be surprised. I was literally just at a birth, and this mama was navigating it so well and just really in control. And when they checked her for the very first time, because, we were there and just kind of going through the motions and minimizing cervical checks, and she got checked for the very first time, and she was already at 9.5 centimeters. So that is just amazing. And sometimes you can really surprise yourself and just be so amazed with what your body is capable of and how you're feeling and what's going on. So don't underestimate yourself and really go for it. If you enjoyed this episode, I have an amazing free workbook that you can have and that you can get, and it is 5 ways to prepare for an unmedicated birth, and it covers everything that we talked about today and then some, and it gives you different tips and tricks and ways that you can really just start processing and getting familiar with what unmedicated birth is and what that looks like for you, and really intentionally just create this experience that you are going to fully step into and fully enjoy. So if you want to get that, just look in the show notes and you will find that there. And thank you so much for listening this week, and catch me next week, or always feel to reach out at any point if you have any questions about this or just want to chat. So thanks, mamas. See you later. Thank you, mamas, so much for listening. Remember, you are a rock star. I believe in you. Let's doula this. Let's crank it up a notch, and let's kick it into high gear together. Hit that subscribe button, share this episode with a friend, message me, email me, call me, beat me. You know how to reach me. We're doing this, mamas. I am so excited to catch you here next week. This is your one-stop go-to place for helping you find the resources you need to make the best choices for you and your family during pregnancy, birth, and most importantly, postpartum. See you later, mamas.